Hello and welcome to Middle Class Film Class Podcast. I'm Peter.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Joseph.
And we have another special sick edition of Middle Class Film Class. So thanks for joining us. I'm a little sick this week.
It wasn't my fault. Don't blame me.
And I'm perfectly healthy because I'm going to live to be 500 years old. So.
Well, the cigarettes kill all the germs.
Exactly.
I'm really excited to be back on mic with you guys. It's honestly my favorite part of the week, recording this show every Sunday. So I'm looking forward to breaking down some movies with you, League of Their Own, you know. But first, Tyler, you got something for us?
Yeah, so I don't know if our listeners and you guys remember the debut of the theatrical release of the Broadway musical Cats.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was a very jarring and nightmarish experiencing that trailer. And much like the Sonic movie trailer when they first released it, there was a huge backlash for like how Sonic looked, and they went back to the drawing board and they redid him, and now he's like 100 times better. So Tom Hooper, who is directing this theatrical version of Cats, he definitely read the memes, took it to heart.
Yeah.
Now he went back to his visual effects team, and they're
Really?
they're redoing.
Oh,
Are you
wow.
serious?
Yeah, they are redoing
Wow.
the digitally enhanced cat people because
That's nuts.
A lot of people thought they were terrifying.
They were terrifying.
It was.
Yeah.
They were
I don't know
a hellish landscape of cats taking over our land.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very bizarre choice, I think, to not only have this be animated, because I feel like the Broadway musical, I've never seen the Broadway musical, but I've seen some set designs of it and like some costumes and stuff, and I think that like the overarching point is to like have these like amazing like practical effects.
Yeah.
So
Is the whole thing animated though, or are they just like?
Is it just the characters?
Are they just like faces CGI'd over? Because it kind of looks like people in fursuits just prancing around in front of a green screen or a blue screen or whatever, set against like larger than life backdrops with like CGI disgusting faces on them.
So I did not get that. I thought it was like actually like a whole animated movie, but I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, which kind of like shows how far visual effects has come in since it's tried. So, anyways, so that is the news that I thought was worthy of sharing, because I thought it was hilarious that it's happening again, that the internet is dictating a movie's visual effects department, which is like amazing and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, the whole Sonic thing is kind of, I think the Sonic thing is okay, because I mean, when they first released the trailer and what Sonic looked like was like kind of, I mean, if you're a big Sonic fan, I would think it would be almost offensive.
You know, there's a lot of big Sonic fans out there too.
And but at the same time, the whole like fans, I don't think fans should be allowed to dictate what artists make.
Absolutely.
But I think if you are in the hands of something that is so iconic as iconic Sonic or Cats, you know, old Cats is like a long-standing play,
worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, I think you have some responsibility to remain true to the original ideas of the artists who made these characters.
So there's that, but there's also like take away the whole artistic expression element of it, and does your studio want to make money?
Yeah.
You know, if you have this huge backlash where the general public is like, ugh, did you see Sonic? Did you see the new Will Smith as the genie in Aladdin?
Yeah.
Oh God, it's grotesque, you know. Do you take a $25 million gamble on redoing the CGI to hopefully not take a loss on a movie that people won't see?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting concept. I don't think it's ever been broached before.
Wasn't that what like test like audiences are for though?
Yeah, focus groups.
Yeah, focus groups.
Yeah, but you're supposed to do like one scene, done 3 of your best versions of the same animation.
Yeah.
Take your best version, show it to the group. But focus groups are kind of a weird dead thing.
They showed it to a bunch of boomers.
Yeah. I mean, focus groups are, if you live in LA, you have no job and no life, you could go down to the studios and be a part of these focus groups all day, every day. And it's people who have no job and no life who are dictating these choices.
True.
It's not an accurate cross-section of humanity. What you should do is release it as a quote-unquote leak on the internet, and then taking a pulse from the natural social media sphere of what exactly is, what the response is to this version of your movie.
Kind of like the whole, before Deadpool came out, they released that like quote-unquote leaked footage of a scene from Deadpool, and people were like, "Oh, I loved it as Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool."
The internet is the new focus group now.
Yeah, for real. And it's free. You don't have to pay anyone to do it. You don't have to get a one-way mirror.
These losers don't have to get out of their beds to go to the these focus tests.
It's people with no job and no life on the internet instead of in real life.
Yeah.
So cats, watch out for it.
Yeah. I also have some kind of news-ish kind of stuff.
What do you have, Joseph?
So do you guys remember that movie came out a few years ago in 2012 called Beasts of the Southern Wild?
Yeah, I don't remember much about it, but I remember Idris Elba's in it.
No, he's not in it.
Okay.
That's Beasts of No Nation.
Oh, okay.
That's a Netflix movie. That's a Cary Fukunaga movie.
Gotcha.
So this movie, Beasts of the Southern Wild, directed by this guy named, I think it's pronounced Ben Zeitlin. So he made this movie that I'm a huge fan of. It's like a movie about kids in like Louisiana, like kind of post Hurricane Katrina. This isn't Bad Lieutenant, I promise. So Beasts of the Southern Wild, I mean, if it was streaming somewhere, I don't know if it is, but I recommend that you guys watch it because it's a kind of fantasy adventure movie, kind of set in modern-ish times. But anyway, so this director came out with this movie in 2012, and he is coming out with a new movie next year called Wendy, and it is another movie about these kids in this another fantasy adventure movie. Based on the trailer, it's a kind of a retelling of the Peter Pan story.
That's cool.
A different take on it. It looks really, really interesting. But yeah, that's just kind of my news. It was something that I got really excited about when I saw that was coming out next year.
Sweet, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I recommend Beasts of the Southern Wild if you have a chance. I got it on Blu-ray.
Heard a lot of buzz about that when it came out, but I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's very, very, very sad, kind of.
I don't really have any like news or anything exciting going on, but I did watch an interesting movie that I feel like if you're a movie lover and wants to see something interesting and see just some bold risks taken and some interesting shots, I watched Under the Skin from Brian Glazer, who's mainly a music video director. He did a lot of like British funky music videos in his time, in his heyday, and he's done a few movies. I think Birth was one, another weird like high concept kind of movie where a young boy tries to convince a woman that he is her late husband reincarnated.
Oh yeah, isn't that with who is it? It's like, it's not Nicole Kidman, is it?
I think it is Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that movie definitely generated some controversy when it first came out because it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, really, really weird. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm gonna add it to my list after seeing Under the Skin.
What's it called?
But
Birth. Under the Skin. This is the alien movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the alien movie with the girl who is.
She lures men into her.
She lures incels into her cave or some shit.
Well, they're not all incels. One of the guys is an incel, and it's like a heartbreaking. He's got like a physical deformity.
Yeah.
But it's a really weird choices in this movie. Like, so the plot is that it's streaming on Netflix, I think. I can't remember if I watched it on Netflix or Amazon. I think it was Netflix, but it was. I'm not necessarily recommending this to people if you're like a deep dive movie lover and you want to see some really interesting concepts and some risks taken in a movie. This is one for you. She's an alien constructed kind of at the beginning of the movie in this weird sequence of events, learning how to talk and whatnot, and she lures men in. She drives around this big moving van in Scotland and lures these men into her apartment, which is like this pitch black lair, and they're somehow mesmerized by her to get undressed and walk with her across this pitch black abyss of a room, and they walk slowly into this black sludge pool and basically disappear into this pool.
Yeah.
You think they're going to she's going to have sex with them and kill them or something, but they just disappear into this pool beneath the ground, beneath the floor. And it's very weird, very artistic and avant-garde. But she finds him from all walks of life. You think, oh, she's not going to kill that guy because he's got a family. But then she does. No. And then, she's not going to kill that guy because he's got this huge, elephantitis sort of face deformity. And nope, she does. She kills him too. Spoiler alert. And then she slowly becomes aware of her, human side or something, and is sexually assaulted by a logger in the woods and is set ablaze at the end. It's crazy. It's a really weird movie. It's over 2 hours long. Didn't need to be that. They could have got their jollies out in 90 minutes, I think. But kind of a funky movie. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying go watch it, but funky movie to add to the list.
Stuck out to you.
Yeah, stuck out to me. It felt like it was worth talking about, and it's been on my watch list for many months, and I just decided to pull the trigger on it, and have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's been on my watch list as well, but really, really low on the watch list because when I first saw it coming out, I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I like Scarlett Johansson, and I just kind of forgot about it because it didn't really get a whole lot of press and
well, there's some beautiful shots when it's the alien layer sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Super high dollar, high production quality shots there, and then juxtaposed to some very poor quality shots and editing where they basically have a GoPro stuck to the dashboard of her van, one to the passenger seat, one to the driver's seat, and it just literally cuts back and forth as this conversation unfolds in her cab of her van between this random John and her, and it's low quality video footage, low quality editing. It had to have been done on purpose, but it just doesn't quite fit.
I can't remember. Does she talk at all?
Yeah, she talks quite a bit.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
But it's very rudimentary talking, and then there's an interesting scene when she's finally embracing her humanism, and she tries to eat a piece of chocolate cake at a diner. And she eats it, takes a couple bites and spits it out, and it reminded me of the scene in What We Do in the Shadows when the guy
can't eat chips.
Yeah, I can't even eat chips. Can't even eat my favorite food. Being a vampire sucks. I hate it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So let's get into the meat of it, shall we? This week, the Wheel of Destiny landed on my pick, which was A League of Their Own from 1992.
Are you crying?
No.
There's no crying in baseball!
What's the matter, Jimmy?
She's crying, sir!
I didn't mean to do that.
Good rule of thumb. Treat each of these girls as you would treat your mother.
Anyone ever tell you look like a penis with a little hat on?
All right. Well, I hope you guys like this. I think you guys... Joseph, you've seen it before, and Tyler, this is the first for you, right?
It's kind of. I had seen it, but when I was a little kid. I didn't see it when I was fully aware of my fondness for movies. So
yeah. I'm in the same boat as you. I remember it being on as a kid, but don't.
Yeah, I think
my parents liked it, so.
Yeah, I think it was kind of on for a lot of people, in the middle of the day on a Sunday, playing on TNT or TBS
that
or
too,
something.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny you mention it because I can set a scene for how this movie should be watched.
Exactly that.
So not to digress too much, but here's a scene to watch A League of Their Own, though. So you wake up. It's Sunday morning. It's about 9:15 in the morning. You heat up some leftovers. You sit on the couch. It's a little bit cold. Get a blanket. You turn on TBS. What's on? A League of Their Own. How far is it? 25 minutes in.
Past all the stuff with Gina Davis as an old lady.
Yeah,
It's a little bit over. Yeah. It's a really, yeah. Anyways, it's a good movie.
Before we get any further into that, we got some streaming picks to do. So Joseph, why don't you start us out?
Shit, yeah, the streaming picks.
Wait, let me look. I gotta find one.
Oh yeah, shit.
So, I have a streaming pick on Amazon Prime. It is. I'm actually kind of surprised at the selection of A24 movies on Amazon Prime. There's actually quite a few.
They have a lot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they have them all.
I added a shit ton to my list. I was like, oh damn, this is on there. This is on there. But this movie, I remember when it was coming out. I wanted to see it in theaters, and I know Deanna was really excited to see it in theaters because she's a big fan of coming of age movies. This is Bo Burnham's directorial debut, 8th Grade.
Wow, that's streaming?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I like this one. It was really cute. It was fun.
Yeah, it is a very modern, tiny little glimpse into the story of this one girl on her last week of 8th grade, and kind of just like what she's going through. She's kind of an introverted person who wants to be extroverted, but she just doesn't have the confidence to do that. I think we can kind of all relate to that kind of story. Maybe not to this
level.
Maybe not to this level because of, I mean, when we were in 8th grade, we didn't have Snapchat or Instagram or anything like that.
It's kind of depressing look at what kids are dealing with nowadays when it comes to that sort of social pressure to be on all that stuff. Like, she's a blogger. Like, she does these little weird self-confidence blogs, even though she's very not self-confident.
Yeah, she's giving advice. She's like kind of telling stories from a different perspective, but the stories are about her. Like, there was this girl who was kind of weird, and I approached her, but she's just talking about herself.
Yeah.
That you know, but I was invited to this party, even though it was a girl that she kind of knew who was more popular than her, who her mom invited her to this girl's party.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really some really awkward scenes in this movie, really uncomfortable moments, where it's just like, get out of there.
Once she finally gets in with the older kids too, and she's in like the car with the boys, I felt so bad for her character,
because
you don't have to do that. No,
it's
just, you're too kind.
Yeah, it's kind of rough in that regard, and I can't say going into it, I thought maybe it would be like maybe a tearjerker, some kind of story like that, but it didn't get there. But I think it was a good window in which to view how maybe these kids are growing up now these days in schools with all these different
I blame
medias.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
How did Deanna like it, considering she's in schools nowadays?
Well, I mean, she's not at this level, but I mean, she does see kids, I guess, like this doing Fortnite dances and all this shit. It's I mean, it was hard for her to watch, especially those scenes, because it's so like just a lot of that.
You know what that sound reminds me of? It reminds me of Professor Frank in The Simpsons, where he's like, "Oh, Lingloiven."
Oh, believing. My favorite character in that movie was the kid at the end that she goes on the date with, the kind of nerdy boy.
Oh, yeah, when she meets at the pool party.
He's a nice boy, just be friends with him.
But that's like a lot of movies where it's like, be friends with this guy. He's not an asshole or a creep. He's just like this kind of nerdy dude, and then they bring up, there's like all these little subtle references of modern day pop culture in these movies. There's like an assembly in the movie, and there's like all these kids shouting quotes from Vines. From Vine was a thing, you know.
Kind of shows you
I missed a lot of that. I wasn't into Vine.
Kind of shows you how like far we've come, like how fast we've come from like the days of Vine, though, because like even 8th grade, like I'm sure if you watch it and you're hearing these Vine quotes, you're like, oh, Vine's not even a thing anymore.
Yeah,
no,
that's a dead technology. I remember that from 5 years ago.
It's crazy, dude.
Exactly, but yeah, it's a good movie. I think I mean,
cool.
It is a first movie, if that means anything.
Yeah.
If you guys can understand what that means, like it's definitely a first feature for Bo Burnham.
Do you think he has a promising career?
I think so. I don't know what he would do next, but I mean,
he's an amazing performer, and his writing is really good. So I hope that he just keeps producing. Honestly, creating.
I think if he were to collaborate with maybe another director and he was the writer, I think it could maybe do something a little.
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't know about bigger scope, but maybe a little bit more
polished.
I don't know. Yeah. But this is
you're
good.
saying you want to see a film with Bo Burnham and John Waters?
Oh God, that abomination. That should be interesting to watch.
Yeah, but yeah, 8th grade. I recommend it. It's streaming on Prime.
Is that little
Streaming
8th grade homage?
Homage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all remember those awkward ages of 8th grade.
8th grade to age 27.
Such a weird time.
Awkward years for sure.
How about you, Tyler? Do you have anything? You said you had something.
Yeah, so I do have a streaming pick, and it is a heavy pick. It is a Sling Blade starring Billy Bob Thornton.
Fantastic.
Damn.
I love this movie so much.
I do too. It is one of my favorite movies that I hate watching.
Really? You don't like watching it?
I do, but it's so depressing that it just like it gets me in a bad mood. Like I like watching, I'm just like fuck, like
Pissed off now.
I love the character of Carl. He's so like earnest. I feel like if I would love to have a Carl in my life that would just like come and hang out with me.
fuck.
I like the way you talk, boy.
Yeah, he's very endearing for sure. So if you guys don't really know what Sling Blade is, if you're listening out there, it is a movie starring Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton. Okay. He actually directed this movie as well. It's basically about this character named Carl Childers, a simple man hospitalized since childhood because he murdered his mom and her lover, I suppose. And I won't get into like super spoilers, but like definitely he does something else as well.
I think you oversimplified it though, and I mean I'm sure that's what the synopsis says, but calling him a simple man is a little oversimplified. I think he's definitely like heavily mentally handicapped, got a real strong it's hard to put your finger on like I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, so I can't diagnose it, but
yeah,
he's a special guy.
Yeah, it's definitely a synopsis. I mean, if we want to get into the character of Carl Childers, I think really he is the kind of guy that like can see the world for what it is and like can like really take in his reality, but he can't output the reality he's taking in, you know what I mean? Like he understands everything that's going on, and like he understands like the complexities of feeling, and it's crazy how you can like read that on like his dialogue and like his time on the screen, which I'm super happy that it's streaming on Netflix, because when I first saw this movie, like my mouth was agape the whole time. Like I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Like I can't believe I've watched this movie. Like, it was.
Yeah.
It's a really gripping movie. So I mean, there's not really much to say about it other than like getting into
you gotta see it.
Yeah, and unless we literally want to do a whole episode of it.
It's a great streaming recommendation because it is. If you missed it, you should see it. It's a fantastic.
It's kind of a classic, like a sleeper classic.
It is a sleeper classic for sure because it just. Ugh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
use your words.
I remember when this movie was on. I've never seen it from beginning to end, but I've definitely seen a good chunk of it. But when I was like way too young, like I remember one specific scene, and I was like watching it with my dad, like after my mom had gone to bed or something. And I was like, what the hell is this movie?
Is it the scene where he orders French fried taters with mustard on them?
I do remember that scene too, but that's not the scene I'm referring to.
French fried taters.
That was in the disturbing scene you recall.
That's one of the many traumatic scenes in that movie.
He's not funny, ha ha. He's funny, queer. My mom showed this to me when I was a young, I'd say probably 12 or so, maybe 13.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it then and took a lot from it, but only as an adult did I think get the full scope of the social commentary on it, because it's deep and it's great.
Much like Of Mice and Men, starring John Malkovich and Gary Sinise.
Yeah,
Gary Sinise.
I forgot John Malkovich was in that
Directed
movie.
by Gary Sinise too.
Is it?
Yeah.
I
I don't know if it was his directorial debut, but that's one of the ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a great streaming pick, Tyler.
Yeah, Sling Blade. I literally just found out that it was streaming on Netflix last night, right before I went to bed. I didn't watch it before I went to bed, but I saw it and I was just like, holy shit. Everyone needs to see this movie. So, yeah. Streaming pick is Sling Blade.
All right, so I'll round it out. I have a pick here, a lot less heavy than Tyler's. So if you just got done watching Sling Blade and you need a palate cleanser, switch on Netflix and take a gander at 2006 Nacho Libre, which is just the best. It's so great.
It is an instant classic.
It's so quotable.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Joseph and most of the friend group, we will throw around Nacho Libre quotes from this all the time. It's rated PG, starring Jack Black, Ana de la Reguera. Probably never seen her before in any American movies. Hector Jimenez, Darius Rose, Moises Arias, a bunch of people you may not recognize, but Jack Black is the star of the show. He plays a monk or pastor or something in some 1950s, I assume, 60s, maybe.
He's of like a priesthood.
I was thinking the 70s.
Could be.
It's not. It doesn't really
matter, really.
No, it really doesn't.
It's in deep in Mexico, so it could be really 90s even.
Yeah.
Because they're way far removed from the modern bustling metropolitan life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he works for this monastery. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of nuns out there, a bunch of priests or whatever.
Orphanage.
And it's an orphanage, yeah. So there's a bunch of little orphans, and he wants to make money for the orphanage or the monastery or whatever. So he decides he's going to be a luchador, and he's going to be go wrestle for money, which is a sin in the eyes of.
Try to be a luchador. That's his goal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's his dream. He wants to be a wrestler.
Yeah, I think his dreams are vain in the sense that's what he really wants, but he figures he could parlay that into some money.
Yeah.
For the orphanage. So
yeah,
a lot of great little one-liners, bunch of goofiness. I mean, the plot is secondary to the performance and the goofy conversation. It was directed by the same people that did. It's actually directed by the guy that did Napoleon Dynamite, Jared Hess.
Oh.
Yep.
So if you like that movie or know that movie, you can get an idea for what the feel of this one is. And Yeah, just a good wholesome movie. It's rated PG. You could do a hell of a lot worse.
Don't forget that Peter Stormare is in it.
Is he?
Yeah, he's the one with the eagle powers.
His eggs give me no nutrients. They give me no eagle powers.
Yeah, he's in it for like a minute, but yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, well, it's so yeah. Nacho Libre streaming on Netflix. Give it a watch if you want to erase your memory of Sling Blade. Or The Road.
Oh, yeah, I love Nacho Libre. I remember seeing it in theaters. It was a packed theater too.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah,
it was a Nickelodeon movie.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. I mean,
I
could be wrong.
wouldn't be surprised, but
yeah, it seemed very Nickelodeon-ish.
Yeah. All right, so those are our streaming picks. Take a look before they get removed from Amazon, Netflix, or Hulu, and let's get into our review of A League of Their Own.
Take
guys
a
ready?
look.
A League of Their Own.
Reading Rainbow. I will say though, until I watched this movie like 2 days ago, or no, I watched it last night actually. I have never seen this movie. I've never seen the beginning or the end of this movie.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you haven't
I
seen
had no idea
the
that
worst
there
parts
was
of
an
the movie.
old version of these characters.
What do you so Joseph, you've seen it before as a kid, rekindling the thoughts from childhood. What'd you think?
Well, I will say that this is probably, compared to all the other movie selections that we've done so far, this is the most normal movie. This is one of the only movies that you would find maybe on TV.
Yeah,
For real though.
Yeah.
on cable.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie. I mean, there's not really much.
Yeah, you can't argue with it. It's objectively good. It
Yeah.
really is.
It's like, I mean, I really hate baseball.
Whoa.
Really?
I
I didn't know this about you.
It's really like one of my most despised sports. I think it's like watching grass grow with people in the way.
Oh my god, I never knew that. That's awesome.
So so with that, I do enjoy this movie, and it's the second bet for me. It's my second favorite baseball movie next to Moneyball.
Oh
okay.
yeah. Yeah, that
And
is
I
a
love
good movie.
I love Moneyball.
Moneyball is a good movie.
Tyler, how about you? What was your first impressions?
So the first time I watched, I was trying to rake my mind because this movie has been relevant in my life in the sense that, like, I've known that it existed, but I never really watched it. So, like, I would have to say that it has been, many Sundays at 9:15 a.m. eating heated leftovers, watching A League of Their Own. But the shots are so brightly colored that you don't really have to pay attention to the plot or the dialogue because it's like always like coming at you. Like,
Sports movies are good for that too.
Mm-hmm.
You can switch it on halfway through and just be like, "Oh, the team's winning."
So with that,
Now they're losing.
Oh, bummer! They're losing now.
Yeah. So with that said, as a movie, A League of Their Own was very enjoyable. It was very well written, and
Yeah.
it was, it's a good movie to watch if you have to watch a movie. You know what I mean? Like,
What a ringing endorsement.
I mean, if you know me as a person by now, you know that is a ringing endorsement. It's really good. It's just really well crafted. It's a really well crafted.
Yeah.
It's a really well crafted movie.
From beginning to end, it's pretty entertaining. There isn't really much of a dull moment. It is a bit long, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Probably could have cut out the whole part about them being old at the beginning and old at the end.
Yeah,
Would have been just fine without that, and cut the 15 minutes out that we're dragging on.
They gave it the Saving Private Ryan treatment, where it's like he's old in the beginning, and then he would remember the entire time when he was sitting at the gravesite, and then the movie's over.
Or Titanic.
Yeah, yeah.
84
years.
So let me give the basics on this movie for the audience. So A League of Their Own, 1992. It's released in July, which is kind of a summer, not necessarily a blockbuster movie, but a summer feel-good movie.
Yep.
Directed by Penny Marshall. Also directed Big and Awakenings. Big, love that movie. Haven't seen Awakenings, but Big's
I know Tom Hanks.
so great. Yeah, so fun.
Another movie that I used to watch a lot.
Mm-hmm. Written by Kim Wilson and Kelly Candelet. Don't know either of the writers, but they did a good job. Writing was good. Specifically, the comedy writing I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was improvised, a lot of it, but starring Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Lori Petty from Orange is the New Black, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, David Strathairn, John Lovitz, and a cameo by Bill Pullman. Box office was $107 million domestic with a budget of $40 million, so it was a pretty successful, and $132 million worldwide. I think at the time it was not overtly touted as a women's sort of women's rights movie, but it was directed by a woman, written by two women, starring a lead woman lead, and basically a team of women playing baseball, which is a man's game, right? So it was a feminist movie definitely before there was a label of that, I think, in the mainstream media. So it's pretty cool.
Man, it was so hard, like, listening to some of the casual misogynistic shit that was being thrown around, like, when they were, like, in the past. I'm just like, ugh, God, that's rough. That is rough. So I appreciated this movie because it was really historically accurate, almost to a frustrating point.
Well, yeah, on that note, the movie's set in 1943, and it follows the Women's Baseball League, GPBL, All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which is a mouthful. And I wasn't quite sure if that was a real thing, because that's way before our time. Mm-hmm. And so I looked it up, and in the movie, the person who put on the AAGPBL was a Mr. Harvey, the Harvey Bar magnate, who was like the CEO of the Harvey Candy Corporation. Yeah. So they talked about the Candy Man, Candyman's paying your bills, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, in real life, Philip K. Wrigley from Wrigley's Chewing Gum was the guy who started the
Wrigley Field.
AAGPBL. Yeah, Wrigley Field. So really interesting kind of parallel there without having to, name specific people.
Yeah, not exactly historically accurate, but it's the same story.
And Harvey, the candy bar guy who started the league in the movie, was played by Gary Marshall, famous director who did a ton of stuff in the 80s, and is Penny Marshall's brother. Oh. If you want to get an idea, do you guys know the movie Hocus Pocus?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So when the witches go to a house on Halloween night, and the one guy is the old man is dressed up as the devil, and they start like kind of worshiping him, and they're like in his house and like dancing with him in the living room. Sarah Jessica Parker's dancing with him in the living room. Mm-hmm. That's Gary Marshall.
Whoa.
The devil. And the wife who comes from upstairs and it's like, all right, party's over, everybody get out. That's Penny Marshall.
Oh.
So
that's cool.
So get a visual. And it's interesting because Penny Marshall, she had great success with this movie and Big, and really didn't have a ton of like large scale movies after that. So I have a feeling she's probably producing, writing, has her hands in other avenues in Hollywood, because the family is Hollywood royalty for decades. They're a mainstay in Hollywood for years and years and years.
Yeah, I mean, like Big, the movie is almost a damn near perfect like family comedy.
Yeah. Well, Gary Marshall. I'm gonna look up his pedigree here so I don't screw it up. But he did, let's see here, Pretty Woman, Princess Diaries, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, all of the like, what's the New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day, all those like sappy holiday movies that came out in like the last 20 years or whatever. He was a part of all that. Yeah. But he's been around forever. He's probably filthy rich.
Yeah.
So So the plot of the movie is that they have this American girls baseball team when all the men are off at war, and they want to entertain the masses while all the men are off at war. Yeah. And John Lovitz is a recruiter. He's a scout, and he goes across the country. He sees Gina Davis on a farm in Oregon. He sees Lori Petty, her little sister, who's not nearly as good, picks them up and takes them on a countrywide road trip to go audition. They all make it to the team, and they get on the what's the name of their team? The Peaches.
The Rockford Peaches.
Rockford Peaches. That's it. Yeah. But I loved John Lovitz in this. He played the part perfectly.
John Lovitz playing John Lovitz.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he just plays the same character in everything that he's in.
I wrote a note down. John Lovitz does one thing and one thing very well.
Asshole.
He's an asshole. I love the line when they're milking cows and he comes in and he's like, they'll pay you $75 a day to be on the baseball team. And Lori Petty goes, I make $30 a day on the dairy. Well, then this will be more. Just a prick.
Yeah, John Lovitz definitely captured the quirkiness of this movie right from the get-go, because he had that voice. He had the transatlantic voice. He had the costume design in this movie was very it definitely got you into the mood of watching a movie based on that.
Yeah,
time era
was good.
So, you get John Lovett's assholeness in a zoot suit, talking shit to women,
with a giant cigar, hanging out his mouth, kicking chickens on the farm.
Right.
Get the hell out of here!
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he yells, "Shut up, cow!" I don't know why it seemed so out of place, because there was kind of a silence for about 10 seconds, so you were kind of in a quiet scene, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Shut up, cow!"
Yeah,
he's
the going back to the very beginning of the movie when they're in the 90s, I assume.
Oh yeah, when all the elderly people.
Modern day 1992.
Yeah, so the I don't know, is that just a different actress?
It is. It's a different actress.
Okay, I was like, this makeup, holy shit.
No,
yeah, she looks like it. She definitely looks.
She looks like Gina Davis.
Yeah,
My first note I wrote down was Gina Davis in old makeup, and her daughter's convincing her to go to some sort of reunion. And then at the end, I saw all the other old ladies, and I looked up the cast, and I'm like, none of these are.
Yeah, that's not Rosie.
No, it's not Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, so I was like,
they did a great job casting the older generation.
I was like, is this great makeup or is this just ADR? And because it's definitely Gina Davis's voice.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's no unless I don't know what this actress actually sounds like, but it definitely sounds like Gina Davis.
I have to go back and rewatch that,
because
I was scrutinizing it a little bit and it was racking my brain about it.
You can definitely tell when it's ADR, because sometimes they'll look away from the camera and you see the side of their mouth, it doesn't match what they're saying, or the audio sounds like it's coming from all over the room and not where they are.
They actually did do voiceovers for the elderly people.
Not the other ones, only Gina Davis, because Rosie does not sound like Rosie does not sound like Rosie.
Yeah, no, Gina.
That's true.
Yeah, I definitely read while I was doing some research on the movie after I watched it that the Gina Davis character, not only was she perfectly casted for an elderly Gina Davis, but they voiced over her voice, which I think was maybe a little bit unnecessary, but I'm not one to judge.
Well, it's whatever. It's nitpicky.
I was going to go through kind of like how we did last week. I liked how you went through the kind of plot scene by scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we pick up the girls. They get across country. They're picked up in Oregon. They go stop by in Grand Rapids, Colorado, to meet Marla, who is such
Fort Collins, actually.
Oh yeah, you're right. Fort Collins, right? My bad. They meet Marla.
I've been there. I've been to Fort Collins.
Woo!
I've seen it with my eyes.
Was it true to life? Was it raining in Fort Collins when
I had forgot that it was Fort Collins when the scene came up.
So they pick up Marla, who's just a sweet, like, homely girl, who's just crushing balls on her dad's team. They go to the tryouts, which I thought was a fantastic montage, which was a mainstay for early 90s, late 80s movies of the tryouts, which was interesting. They said that there were 64 spots for the girls and 100 girls trying out.
Yeah.
Which ain't bad odds, to be honest.
Not really.
Stakes are pretty low there.
Yeah.
You just got to be in the top 2/3.
Yeah, the exposition that they do to like forward the plot, like when they're like traveling and stuff, it felt really natural, like with the whole radio show talking about whatever, like it.
Oh, like the news brief.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was. I don't know. It didn't seem like to hit the hammer over the head with the exposition in this movie. It felt very naturally transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
The voice I think was Harry Shearer. I can't confirm that for sure, but the voice really sounded like Harry Shearer, the voice of Principal Skinner on The Simpsons.
Back to The Simpsons. It all leads back to The Simpsons. Well, during the tryouts, don't we kind of get more of the relationship between Kit and Dottie, and how Kit is like basically the sister who isn't good enough. She's shorter, she's not as fast, or she's just not as athletic as Dottie is. And then
Dottie's like a master among plebes.
She's kind of like feels the pressure to be better, but she is like a little too ambitious in her in what she wants to do, because in the beginning of the movie she's like I like the high ones.
Yeah.
And
she knows everyone knows she can't hit high balls.
Yeah.
It leads to her striking out.
And then
3 for 3.
And then that kind of leads into Kit. In my notes I wrote, Kit sucks. Jealous of Dottie.
Oh man.
So she kind of realizes, I mean, she kind of knows that she's not as good, but she's still jealous that Dottie is the one that is getting the attention.
Yeah, but I mean, she does get really good though.
Eventually.
On that note, what did you guys think about? This is flashing way forward to near the end of the movie in the finals. And before Kit gets traded away to the Racine Bells, she's on the mound. She's the pitcher. Kit is the pitcher. So she's starting this game, and she's throwing grapefruits, which is a great line. Just super easy to hit balls, right?
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks, the manager, and Gina Davis, the catcher, are out there, and he asks Gina Davis, "What do you think?" And he says, she gives her some glib response, and then he says, "No, what do you really think?" And he says, "She's throwing grapefruits out there. She needs to get pulled."
Oh yeah.
And Kit gets all pissed off because she's like, "I've never been pulled out of a game before. I never not finished a game before."
Yeah.
What do you think about that decision from Gina Davis?
It felt very natural, because I think that they established that her character is obviously really passionate about football, but the pressure...
Football?
Baseball.
Foosball.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought about football right then. Anyways, obviously very passionate about baseball, and I think they were trying to make her character like feel pressured by the societal standards that she was supposed to adhere to.
Yeah, but in a real world sense, if you were Gina Davis, would you do that? Would you sell your sister out for that? Because that's the right thing. Because it's reality. She was throwing shit throws.
I'm providing context here. So you have this lady who is, very passionate about baseball, but also really passionate about family life. And I think she was really feeling the groove there. So she was like, yeah, no, she can't throw anymore. Like she's not good anymore. I think that was like her true self. Like I think baseball brought out the like true Dottie, and
true athletic nature of Dottie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
she's a real ball player,
competitive,
and the actress portrayed that very well, because the character development in the beginning of the
it
movie.
Was very delivered very neutrally.
Yeah.
Like matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
less emotional, more fact.
Yeah. Less like sticking it to her like you need to, know your place kind of thing. It was just like you're not doing so well right now, so we need to get you out of here.
She's not doing good. She needs to get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that part of the movie. It's kind of a cold-blooded sort of thing, but you got to be able to tell people the truth.
The nature of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I liked it a lot. It was just I think that was like natural Dottie in her own like she's just a straight up vibing dude.
So at the tryouts, we're introduced to various cast of characters. Some are a little forgettable, but Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell.
Freaking Madonna is in this movie.
Oh, so good.
I love Madonna. I love her so much.
I wrote in this. I knew Madonna was in this. I knew as a kid that Madonna was in this, but she is seductive in this role, and I feel like her sexuality as like a sex symbol was lost to our generation because we were just too young to appreciate it. But just seeing her at this, like as an adult, rewatching this movie, you're like, oh yeah, she was absolutely like a sex symbol. And if you put her in this 1940s era, and she's supposed to be this loose gal, all the way May is her nickname.
Yeah.
She was great, and Rosie O'Donnell was hilarious too. They were like a good
duo.
Couple of good East Coast broads.
Yeah, kind of like almost like an Abbott Costello pairing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, comedy duo where it's like the comedy is just in their relationship as opposed to what they're not like trying to be funny. It's just they are funny as a pair of people.
It's the relationship. They did good in almost every scene that one was in, the other was in. That's interesting.
Let's not forget how John Lovitz leaves the movie, and we never see him again. I don't think when he's at the tryouts.
Oh yeah, he's like
well,
only
have fun
in the movie
tryouts.
for the first 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna go home, have a shave, give the wife a go pickle tickle. I thought that was hilarious. Just that pickle tickle. I thought that was hilarious.
In a lesser movie, too, I think they would take that character, which really has no business in the rest of the movie, and try to shoehorn him in other scenes because he is hilarious.
Yeah.
But credit to the filmmakers, he left and was really never seen again.
Yeah. Yeah. There was also this kind of really small element of the movie that doesn't get revisited. I don't know if it needed to get revisited, but it's just brought up randomly where like there's these kind of old women prude people who are like talking about women going into baseball, and they're like, the masculization of women, what are these soldiers going to come back to? What kind of women are they going to come back to? What will their wives be like?
The like public opinion pieces on
but
the
then
radio.
it never gets brought up again. I don't know what was
I think it was
the
just
relevance
to set
of that.
The tone of the times, because it was very anti-women in the
feeling that the women probably had to deal with the sentiment of the day, just to be able to do what they would love to do.
I think it could use a little bit more of that in the movie to more hammer that in a little bit, because it's just that one tiny little scene of these old women in this radio station talking about it.
Yeah,
it never comes back.
Yeah, it is I think it was just a mood setting scene, but I mean, this movie's already 2 hours long, so to like incorporate all the aspects of a women's baseball league in the 30s, it just this would be a really good HBO miniseries.
Yeah, if they remade it, it'd be
it probably would do well, because people love period pieces.
Mm-hmm.
There was but like right after that, they talk about, well, all you ladies are going to be going to class school where they learn how to be ladies and wear dresses, and
they go to finishing school.
That was a weird segment in the movie.
And I was like, when I wrote down, Deanna made this point actually, because like Marla, when they're like like gracefully walking. It looks like she's like Heiling Hitler because she's like doesn't know what she's doing.
Oh my god!
So I was like, while these men are out in fighting World War II, fighting Hitler, these women are in this organization that's like almost Nazi-like because they're learning how to be proper.
Yeah,
very
that's what
neat
I
and
was
organized.
thinking too.
Yeah, I thought that was just kind of an interesting.
That's also
parallel.
a sign of the times as well, because I think this was like when President like FDR was in the office, and like he was the guy who like put in all of like this like really progressive stuff that we see today.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was always that like balance of like authoritarianism and then like what the U.S. became afterwards. Like it was always like a crazy thing, because they also talk on like the rich people of this movie as well. It's a really good period piece. I think it's a sleeper period piece, really, because it's masked by Rosie O'Donnell's sun-like comedy.
What?
Sun-like?
Yeah, like she is just the sun in the solar system of this movie.
Oh, like she's the star of the show.
She tries to be. That was supposed to be a sarcastic comment, but
Oh.
Like it's kind of weird how desperate she is to try to be the star of this show, but really, she like isn't.
What do you have against Rosie O'Donnell, Tyler?
I don't. I have nothing.
How did she hurt you?
I have nothing against Rosie O'Donnell, but like I thought that she overacted a bit in her roles, and it was.
Did you go see an episode of the Rosie O'Donnell daytime talk show with your parents as a kid, and you didn't get a koosh ball shot into the audience at you?
Tyler, I have every Rosie Muppets Christmas album. Don't you tell me you don't like Rosie.
So the scene that the girls are introduced to Tom Hanks, where he bangs into the locker room and then proceeds to have a Austin Powers-esque long pee take.
Yeah,
is my second favorite Tom Hanks peeing scene behind the Green Mile.
Green Mile.
When he gets home, he pees for the first time with his prostate healed, and goes home and bangs his wife.
Without.
Yeah, it's great. And then the wife sends biscuits to John Coffey for the good shagging she just got.
I read some trivia on that scene, and the trivia is that the person who is pouring the water into the peeing receptacle, he was doing it for a lot longer than what Tom Hanks suspected it would be. So a lot of like I would say like after the halfway point of the peeing scene, like that's like straight up improvised. Because
his just facial expression.
Yeah, he was like he had to stay in character the whole time until he was done.
Plays a great drunk, by the way.
Oh, he does.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he does.
I didn't expect that. He's a good, like, sweaty, fat-headed drunk. Like Papa John.
Papa John.
Yeah, he really...
40 pieces in 30 days.
Dude,
he really channeled his inner Papa John for this movie.
In some of the ways that, like, he, like, had his... speeches towards the main actress, it was really, I thought Tom Hanks was drunk. Like I thought they were just like, okay, so here's the script and here is a bottle of gin, drink as much as you can right now in the next 30 seconds, go.
Yeah, and here are your lines.
Yeah, exactly.
I really dug the announcers. They had the period specific speak when they would say like, "Oh boy, she just knocked the cream cheese out of that one."
Oh yeah,
that's a great one. Or when the girl steals, or not steals, like I think she gets the go ahead run to go home from third, beating the throw to home, and the announcer says, "Jimmy Dugan, the master strategist, has her swinging away at that one." And he's just drunk as a skunk on the bench.
Scratching his balls.
Yeah, scratching his balls. Yeah, that was nice. I dig 20th century baseball announcers. It's always a a delight for me to hear that kind of talk.
So, I noticed something when they were getting ready for their first game. It's like really in the back ground of the shot. There's a girl. She takes like 2 fingers of Vaseline and puts it on her teeth.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's an old beauty pageant trick.
That's what I thought at first. I was just like, oh, what the hell did I just watch? And so I Google searched it, and I was like, putting Vaseline on teeth, and apparently is a quick way to get your teeth really white.
Mm-hmm. It's a beauty pageant trick.
Yeah.
It's supposed to keep your lips off your teeth too, so when you smile.
Yeah.
So when you smile, you're more likely to put your lips up high, so it shows your teeth and gives you a bigger looking smile.
Yeah, and I thought for some
I'm gonna start doing
Simpsons.
Yeah, for some reason I thought
Joseph, your teeth are ridiculously white already. You don't have to do that.
So I thought that was really interesting that they included something like that, and it just kind of made it more authentic because
there's a lot of good touches like that. Mm-hmm. When they do the propaganda movie after their first game, it's a propaganda type movie, the newsreel. They make the newsreel to the national press.
Oh yeah,
and it's one of my favorite scenes or cuts in the whole movie is they're like Betty Spaghetti. She's he loves making spaghetti at home. Da 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 da.
Oh yeah.
And then it says, and then this girl, she's a former Miss Georgia. Yowza. Yeah. And then and there are all these like up close shots, and then it's like a really wide shot of like homely Marla Hooch, and it's like, and how about Marla Hooch? She's like an inch tall on the screen. You can't even see her. Yeah. And it just cuts away.
She reminded me of Uncle Fester from the Addams Family.
I think that's kind of her.
That's someone's daughter.
Yeah.
It was just the facial expressions that she made, like especially in the beginning, like just like hiding behind.
When you first see her.
I don't know. It's just I got an Uncle Fester vibe from it. From
the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes.
That one cut, and then also. I got a soft spot for Marla Hooch if you haven't figured it out yet. But the scene when they're at the Roadhouse and they're like, "Is that everybody? We got everybody." Gina Davis is gathering everybody up, and then they kind of gesture towards the stage, and Marla's up there in a dress, and she's singing some like sad.
It had to be you.
It had to be you. To like one bespectacled doofus standing on the dance floor.
Everyone crying their asses off.
Oh, that was so great. And then she married that guy. Yeah. Like 3 days later, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just made sense.
It was interesting, the whole rules that they were given, like no men, no drinking, and all this stuff. And like when I wrote down, sexism is a thing. That's because like it's
sure
pretty much
is.
like it's pretty much the whole like kind of concept of the movie.
Yeah,
like,
it's
given the time that it takes place in.
Yep.
Because like
they wear skirts instead of pants.
Yeah.
Which are great looking outfits, but very not practical for playing baseball.
It was really sad.
When men are playing baseball, there's no rules like this for them, but for women, they have to remain elegant and graceful while they're playing a sport where they get hella dirty and hurt and all this shit.
Yeah, that was the frustrating real part of this movie is that, like, on the surface, it's a really entertaining movie to watch, but it's also a pretty serious, like, take on, like, a frame of time that happened.
And even when they get good at baseball, like, they're winning games and all that, like, it's women baseball. The women's baseball league isn't enough that they need to add entertainment value to it. They need to make it into like a circus show.
She like does the splits when she catches the pop fly and stuff.
Yeah.
It's that's another part of it, because like men's baseball, I love one of the part of it where it's like, well, we got a light crowd here today because the tractor show's in town.
I missed that line.
Yeah, it was
I
yeah.
didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
Great.
well, a tractor show can draw a bigger crowd than a women's baseball game. That is.
yeah, I'd much rather see a
Horrible.
woman.
That's good writing.
I'd much rather see a women's baseball game than a fucking tractor show.
I don't know, Tyler. Have you seen the new John Deere wow, or whatever?
And speaking of the rules they had to follow, they eventually break those rules and go into. They sneak out of the
roadhouse.
they sneak out and go to the bar.
Suds. What's it called? Suds
Yeah, it was
Bucket?
called Suds.
Sud Bucket.
Yeah, Suds Bucket, and it was pretty endearing. You know, like, that's when we see the scene of Marla like singing on the stage and like everyone like like having a jolly good time. But there is a very disturbing scene. There's a very disturbing scene towards the end of this segment, and that is when that fucking 12-year-old kid is not only driving a car,
Oh,
but
yeah.
asks Dottie if
What do you say you take me into the back seat and make a man out of me?
he requested. Yeah, he was requesting sex, and it was very just.
Well, when you say it like that, Tyler, it sounds gross.
Well, yeah, it was, and I was just like, what the hell, like.
And then she says, "I smack you. How about I smack you around a little bit?"
Yeah, and then he's like, "Yeah, do it, dude." And I was like,
How
"What
about we
the
do
hell?"
both?
He's like, sup, bro? I'm down with that.
Yeah, so
There was a good cross section of rural American life in this too, because at the very beginning, when John Lovitz is scouting Dottie and Kit, there's some. Wow, there are some special specimens in the audience in that crowd. Some slack-jawed yokels, to be sure.
Yeah.
It was a great cast job.
for sure, yeah, it really was, and the set design was
just
amazing.
locals to where they filmed it.
Yeah, they did the gummo approach where they just get whoever's in that town.
Much like Nacho Libre, where in the village that they filmed the movie, there was just a lot of locals.
Yeah, they don't even realize they're in a movie. So we're let's see here, guys. We're about hour and 10 minutes in. You guys have any more closing thoughts on this movie you want to share with the audience to give them an idea what the movie's about?
Yeah, I do have some closing thoughts on it.
Me too. I do too.
I'm just gonna say it. I am just gonna say it. So Tom Hanks is a master of throwing out these like not one-liners, but like just like these very iconic like phrases, I should say, just lines. And one that stuck out specifically to me was, "There's no crying in baseball."
Yes.
Are you
thank for
crying?
bringing that up.
Love.
You cry?
That's it's a iconic line in movie history.
Yeah, it is.
It's one of the
iconic.
best.
And I'm a sucker for good sports movies, and having played sports myself, like, I get like the feeling of camaraderie. And so there's a really good exchange between Dottie and Jim Dugan where he's talking about how baseball wouldn't be good if it wasn't hard. Like making it hard is what makes it good. And I was like, that is some like top tier like writing right there. Like
Some life advice right there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not just baseball too. That's anything.
And it was done so. It was done so elegantly in that scene too.
Yeah.
So
By the drunkest person in the movie.
Exactly. It was just poetic beauty of it all. It just this drunk
Coming
man
from...
saying beautiful words, much like Charles Bukowski does. And and so
Scramble to.
I guess my final thoughts would be also is that this was a very period specific movie, which isn't surprising because Tom Hanks is in it, and it's a good surface level movie, and it's also a good movie to appreciate the society we live in now.
Yeah, you can watch it just for the pure entertainment value, or you can watch it with a little bit more
take a little social commentary,
emotion attached to it, I suppose, or context in the time it was made, and think about how far we've come as a society in terms of women in sports, and just women's rights in general, I guess. But I also have just some little notes. There was one instance where it's like a short little scene of Gina Davis running over to the side of the field, or like going to get a foul ball, and there's these black people on the side of the standing on the side of the field. They're not in the bleachers. I assume segregation was still a thing. And so they're standing watching. And then this woman picks up a ball, and then Gina Davis is like, right here, and then she throws it over Gina Davis into the model, into the pageant model, right? She catches it and she's like, ow, hurt my hand, basically a hard throw. And what I wrote was the black people can play too, but not in this movie.
Yeah. And that's
we're progressive, but not that progressive.
Well, because there's another movie called 42.
42, yeah.
Yeah,
42.
where it's
Jackie
about
Robinson movie.
it's like the same decade, but it's male baseball.
Yeah, it's weird with the whole equality thing in America. It's like, okay, which do we give rights to first, black people or women?
Well, we weren't planning on doing either, but I guess we did.
All right, women first, and then black people.
Yeah,
but not black women. Black women last.
And that's what I think this movie really succeeded at, like, kind of portraying, is because at first I thought it was jarring that there was like no mention of like the racism and stuff, but then I was thinking, like, why would this particular group even mention racism or anything? Because this is like rural America. Like they're not super into that. Like they do things like they always done. So it's very period specific movie, and I appreciate it for that, because it doesn't gloss over the horribleness that what once was, but
the bigotry,
you also have to like kind of critically think about it when you're watching it. But at the same time, though, it's a very entertaining movie to watch, just like to put on. It's like it's well written, well shot, and it doesn't beat you over the head with like, you know, like any sort of point. You take what you get from it.
Yeah. And then I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is black and white. I don't know how you guys interpreted this. So the end of the movie, the last game, the very last moment of the last game, when Kid is up to bat, and so Dottie pauses the game, goes to the pitcher, and says, "Throw the high fast ones. She can't hit those." Do you think?
Can't lay off them.
Do you think she was trying to win the game, or do you think she was testing Kit? Like she was giving Kit like a final challenge to overcome, and actually feel like she, you know, did something, like she accomplished something, like she finally became good enough in her own eyes.
I see what you mean. I think she honestly, legitimately was just trying to play the best game she could, because that's her character, and she's doesn't care about allegiances, whether it's family or otherwise. She just wanted to win the game, and she knows I got a little bit of edge on this person. She's my sister. I know she can't lay off these.
Yeah,
so.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I think that Kit legitimately got really good, and Dottie being like, I think Dottie's a lot more egotistical when it comes to baseball, so she was kind of just like, yeah, whatever, like I know exactly her weakness, like she hasn't changed one bit.
Yeah,
I think Dottie was probably proud of her sister, even though she lost the game. She was probably very, very proud of her.
Of course, yeah, like there was no negative connotation, but like I think she, like Dottie in the baseball sense, always wants to win.
Agreed.
Well, I disagree.
Oh shit.
Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. It ended the way it did, and like there's obviously no like hostility or anything between the two of them. Like
except for it kind of implies that they don't talk to each other for like 50 years.
Yeah, it kind of.
When you see the old ladies and you're like, "Kid, look at all your grandkids."
There's something about that too. It's like, oh well, I guess you haven't. I think
they just went off and did their own thing. I think Kit kept playing baseball. Well, he settled down and had a bunch of kids.
At the end of the game, where she's like, well, I think we're going to stay around here for a while, and then she's like, well, we're going back to Oregon. So I assume there was a distance related too.
Maybe not animosity, but a distance for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I like Deanna's mom has a sister who lives in Ohio, and I don't like the last time she came was maybe 2 years ago, and before that, I don't know when the last time they saw each other was. So there's obviously, I mean, they're sisters, and there's obviously no animosity between Dottie and Kit, presumably, I guess, based on the last conversation, and the embracement. Kit is like obviously like. Will miss her sister, just based on the hug that the two hugs that she gives her.
So there is one thing I have to say about the ending, though. In
the old people ending?
No, not the elderly ending. The ending of so when Dottie like pops up and picks up the ball that Dugan dropped or whatever. I thought that Dottie was a drunken hallucination that Tom Hanks hallucinated.
What?
And he was just like really drunk at the World Series, and he really wanted Dottie to be there. So like when she like popped back up, he was like, "Oh."
Like when she's catching.
Yeah, when she like comes back from like Oregon to like play this one last game.
Well, they were on the road on the way. They weren't in Oregon yet.
No, I know. I thought it would be like a really funny thing to think that like that it was just like an hallucination due to his alcoholism.
And he's like, "Dugan, are you okay? It's me."
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Dottie left.
Yeah, Dottie's gone.
Dottie died 5 years ago. You have to move on.
And he's just like 5 years older, and he's just like drooling. He's like, "Oh, you need to lay off the booze, Dugan."
He's in cirrhosis. He's going into DTs.
Oh God.
All right, now to talk about the Scooby-Doo ending.
Actually, the Scooby-Doo ending was what I felt like it was in Bad Lieutenant Protocol in New Orleans when everything's coming up Millhouse, and he's just sitting in his office.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like the super duper happy ending in Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Last thought I have on this is I was right. Harry Shearer is the announcer of the newsreel.
Oh, okay.
He's the voice of.
It's been confirmed.
Confirmed. IMDb says it.
You heard it here first.
He's the voice of Mr. Burns, Smithers, Flanders, Principal Skinner, Lenny,
That's awesome.
Otto, Kent Brockman.
Yes.
Just about everybody in Reverend Lovejoy, Dr. Hibbert in Simpsons.
Wow.
And also in This Is Spinal Tap.
He truly is the star of this movie.
I will say that we probably could have done without the old person part of
yes,
the movie.
I totally agree. That was a sappy saccharine part that I really didn't need.
It was cheap.
Well, you had to have a point to the plot.
cheap heartstrings. Well, there was no. What was the point of?
Well, actually, I should have said you had to have a catalyst to the plot, to the old times.
The reunion of the team.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like you.
I've been fine just hearing the story from the perspective of the young ladies.
This is
in the 40s.
This is the 90s, guys. Come on, you got to think in 90s filmmaking.
We didn't need to see an old Tom Hanks in The Green Mile. Oh shit, we did.
Yeah, I mean, I
he
think
was old at the end.
The end of the movie, the elderly ending was just kind of tugging the heartstrings. Like,
sure.
Oh,
yeah.
It's been 84 years.
Yeah. Yeah, unnecessary.
Well, the whole I guess they were inducted in the first women to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. That was kind of a big part of the AGPL. That
could have been like a Ken Burns type sliding photo montage with text over front during the credits. It didn't need to have its own like set and scare up all those old actors that really do look a lot like Lori Petty and
just showing off the
Gina
casting choices they had. Well, we got all these. I grounded up all these old people who look like the young.
We get it. You have a great casting agent.
What are we gonna do with them? Well, let's just shoot this old part of the movie. And then the kid that grows up,
Stillwell.
Oh yeah, that piece of shit kid that almost killed everyone.
Yeah.
Almost killed the entire. That would have been great if the movie ended there. Stillwell blindfolds the
bus
driver.
crashes, drives off a cliff.
Drives off an embankment. Everyone dies in a fire
Doyle
accident.
rules.
That's great.
Yeah, and then it ends, and then it's like, oh well, they exist.
The Racine Peaches made it, or Racine Bells.
Yeah, so Kit and Dottie reunited after however long, and then it's over.
Oh, yeah, she's got a million redheaded kids.
Yeah. Well, I guess Dottie was like super redheaded in the movie. They're both super redheaded.
Yeah, they're both pretty redheaded.
Yeah.
So you guys want to throw a rating on this?
Yeah. So I will give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. Very, very good, entertaining movie, and also a very good period movie as well.
Yeah. I'll stick to a 3 out of 5. Very entertaining. A little too long for me, but for the kind of movie it is. But yeah, solid pick.
Awesome. And I'm gonna start with the. We haven't really done this in the last few episodes, but I think it's worth citing off the Rotten Tomato score. This is 78% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 84% from the audience.
Sounds about right.
I feel like I'm kind of in that same boat. I'm like a 3.5 star movie for me, but with the nostalgia factor, it really brought home some great memories from my childhood. So me, personal rating for me, I put this at a 4 star. I really love this movie.
Nice.
And it was we put it on at Thanksgiving. I rented it on Netflix for $4.
You can rent on Netflix?
Yeah, you like download it and you can watch it for like 72 hours or whatever. Or no, not I'm sorry, not Netflix, YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we watched it, Bree and I and Justice, and then took my notes, and then when Thanksgiving came around and we didn't have access to football games, we put this on instead. So it was a good time.
Time for some fictional baseball.
Yeah. Hey, you guys remember this movie from 1992?
It really is a good Thanksgiving movie. This is a solid.
It's a fun. Yeah, it's a good watch.
It's a solid Thanksgiving movie.
If you're like me and you don't like baseball, but you want to watch a movie with sports and the movie has to have baseball in it, watch this movie. Or Moneyball.
Moneyball's definitely a better movie, but still good.
Yeah.
All right, so Wheel of Destiny time. You guys ready?
Wheel Destiny.
Okay, so that was my wild card pick that was on the wheel. My first wild card pick, spun and landed on
and off the board, just like that.
One and done, as they say, as the kids say. So I'm gonna. This is gonna be back to Joseph to put another wild card pick on. You got one prepared for us, sir?
Yes, I do. I think I do. Have you guys seen The Place Beyond the Pines?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Classic Gosling movie.
I love this movie.
All right.
Quote unquote Tyler Noe.
I love this movie.
I love this movie.
I'm just going to say it. I love this movie.
The Place Beyond the Pines, directed by Derek Cianfrance. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He directed Blue Valentine, which is
a rough movie.
Very depressing movie about marriage and divorce.
I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
Very hard to watch.
Right.
But The Place Beyond the Pines is a great movie about family, and it's like if Hereditary wasn't a horror movie, this would be the movie.
Oh, that's actually a good description of it, to be honest.
Yeah, this movie I think is a movie that is masterfully made, story-wise, editing-wise, acting-wise, starring.
The twist is really good too. I love the twist in this movie.
Starring Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes, Dane DeHaan, Mahershala Ali, Ben Mendelsohn.
I love
Angelo
Ryan.
Anthony Pizza.
I love Ryan Gosling's scream in this movie
Oh yeah.
when he's
Get
in
the
the
fuck
in
on
thing.
the floor.
Yeah, very. Yeah,
He's definitely lost control in those scenes.
Yeah.
he's a good actor in some of the movies that he's typecasted in.
All right, so that's on the wheel now. So Joseph, you have A Place Beyond the Pines, which is your wild card. You also have Dunkirk and The Machinist, which has been on for quite some time.
Yeah.
And Tyler, you have Mr. America and the Blair Witch Project, the original one, as well as Escape from New York, the Snake Plissken movie.
That's been on there for a while.
Which has been in almost since the beginning, and that's your wild card pick.
Yeah, same with mine. That's Machinist and that one.
And then my picks, I have They Look Like People and The Bridge on the River Kwai. So we're gonna switch it up a little bit today. I'm gonna do a running spin because I don't want anyone to think that we're
running spin. Oh,
yeah,
like you're just gonna keep.
I'm spinning it currently. You can hear it moving as we speak, and then I'm gonna give it one good spin.
All right.
Okay, guys, ready?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. America.
Oh shit! Where the fuck did we watch this movie though?
Yeah, where do we watch this, Tyler?
So you can rent it on Amazon. So to give context for this movie, it's best to know the character that Tim plays on his on cinema at the cinema character. It's kind
We
of
gotta watch
lead up.
other stuff.
So first off, we have to watch 12 hours of on cinema at the cinema
No,
YouTube videos,
no,
and then the 4-hour court drama.
No, you just need an idea, but it's good if you are into this sort of humor. It's a very dry, sarcastic humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a commentary, like on pop culture. It as far as the documentary goes, without knowing what's going on, it's still really funny because it still gives you enough context in the documentary to know like kind of what's going on. And if you're into that very ironic and dry sense of humor, Mr. America is amazing. And I'm excited.
Can you send us, Joseph and I, like a couple of YouTube videos that would get us acquainted with this character?
Yeah. So I'm gonna share some example videos and
just send it to us in our little group chat.
I'm actually and I'll also post it on the Facebook page too. I'll post it on the wall. I'll post like the essential episodes to watch to get an idea of what this character is about, and then highlights from. Yeah, so it was a fun journey. Yeah. Getting to this documentary. Right. So Mr. America, I'm excited for you guys to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And as usual, if you want to send your listener art, emails, recommendations, movie recommendations, what you like, what you don't like about the show, send it to us via email at mcfcpodcast@gmail.com. Like and subscribe us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and the Android Play Store. And
if you see me on the side of the street, please just give me like $20 too. That would be very supportive.
It's going to a good cause. American Spirits. And follow us on the Facebook page, facebook.com/MCFC podcast. Thank you for joining us all this week. And until next time, we will see you next week.
See you later, guys.
See you later.